Humans usually have 46 chromosomes, arranged in pairs of 23. You get 23 chromosomes from one parent and 23 chromosomes from the other parent. Of these pairs, the first 22 pairs are called autosomes, and the last pair are the sex chromosomes, because they differentiate the sexes. As we discuss sex, I'm referring only to chromosomal sex and not gender identity. In humans, the presence of a Y chromosome defines a chromosomal male, and the absence of a Y chromosome defines a chromosomal female. Typically, a male has XY chromosomes, and the female has XX. Other organisms also use chromosomes to determine sex, but don't always use the same system as humans. In grasshoppers, males have one X, whereas females have two X's. In chickens, males have two Z's, and females have a Z and a W chromosome. Bees are also determined by chromosome, but not specific sex chromosomes, just the overall number. Most bees are male and have only 16 chromosomes. These are the ones that collect pollen and build the hive. Female bees are the queen, and they have 32 chromosomes. Honeybee hives have only one queen bee per hive. The sex of offspring is determined by the father in humans. A father has an X and a Y, so they determine if the offspring will be XX or XY. Genes that are located on sex chromosomes are called sex-linked genes. In humans, the X chromosome is much larger and carries many more genes than the Y chromosome. This results in many genes that are X-linked because they are located on the X chromosome, and very few genes that are Y-linked. Recessive X-linked traits are more common in males than females. Since males only have one X chromosome, whatever is on that chromosome is the gene that they will express. They do not have another X chromosome to cover up a recessive allele. A female has to have two recessive alleles in order to show a recessive trait, because they have two X chromosomes. This means they must be homozygous recessive, and this is much rarer. Female offspring can only have recessive phenotypes if they get a recessive from the father and the mother. Male offspring can show a recessive phenotype by just receiving one copy of the recessive allele from the mother. If a male has a recessive X-linked trait, it is always inherited from their mother, because their father would have passed down a Y chromosome to make them male. Let's look at an example of X-linked inheritance for a recessive X-linked trait in humans' colorblindness. Since the gene for colorblindness is linked to the X chromosome is written with a superscript on the letter when we write the genotype. Capital B is dominant, and this represents normal vision. Lowercase b is recessive, and this represents colorblindness. Notice that the Y chromosome does not have a B gene attached to it. This gene is only present on the X chromosome. In this example, both parents have normal vision. The father has only one gene for vision, and it is dominant. The mother is heterozygous. She is a carrier because she carries one allele for the disorder, but she does not show the phenotype herself. A carrier will display the dominant phenotype, in this case normal vision, but she has the chance to pass on the recessive allele to her children. When the two individuals are crossed, the father will only be able to pass on the dominant trait. Since the father gives an X to his daughters, they will all receive a dominant allele from him and have the normal phenotype. The father does not determine the phenotype of the sons because he gives them a Y chromosome, which does not carry the gene at all. The mother provides an X chromosome to all her children. One daughter gets a big B, and one daughter gets a little b. All of the daughters from this cross will be normal. We expect half of the daughters will be homozygous dominant, and half of the daughters will be carriers, with one recessive allele that gets covered up. The mother gives the X chromosome to the sons. One son gets a big B, and one son gets a little b. This means that the mother determines the phenotypes of the sons, since the Y chromosome does not carry the trait. We expect half of them to be normal vision, and half of them to be colorblind. Here is an example of an X-linked pedigree in humans. X-linked traits are more common in males than females. In this pedigree, 3 males are affected, and only 1 female is affected. X-linked traits can skip a generation from a male to his grandson if he has a daughter who is a carrier. In the first generation, the grandfather is colorblind. He had a daughter who is a carrier. The daughter has a son who is colorblind because he inherited the recessive gene from the mother. Any affected female will have affected sons. The affected female in the second generation has 2 recessive alleles. Every son she has will receive 1 recessive allele, resulting in colorblindness. There are several recessive X-linked traits that are common in humans. Colorblindness is a mutation in the photoreceptors of the eye. Red-green colorblindness is the most common type and causes people to have trouble distinguishing the colors red and green. Colorblindness does not cause any other symptoms. Duchenne muscular dystrophy is a muscular degeneration disease. A missing protein causes muscle fibers to be dissolved and muscles become gradually weaker. Most people die by the age of 20. Fragile X syndrome is caused by repeated sequences in the gene and causes mental impairment. The impairment can range from a mild learning disability to severe intellectual disability. Symptoms appear to be milder in females and less frequent. Hemophilia is a bleeding disorder caused by a lack of blood clotting proteins. This can result in bleeding that either does not clot or clots very slowly, and this can be dangerous after an injury and is treated with blood transfusion. Hemophilia was common among the royal family of Europe in the males that can trace their lineage back to Queen Victoria. None of her ancestors were affected, so it appears that Queen Victoria was the source of a mutation that arose in either her or her parents. The current British royal family arose from the eldest son, King Edward VII. He did not receive the allele from Queen Victoria, so the hemophilia is not present in the modern-day monarchs. Queen Victoria's daughters Alice and Beatrice were carriers of the gene. They introduced hemophilia to the ruling houses of Russia and Spain at the time.